We're here at the world famous Kansas City Soccer Dome. I'm Erik Bergrud, the analyst for the Kansas City Comets, joined today by head coach Stefan Stokic. Coach, as you began your inaugural year leading the Comets this past season, what were your expectations heading into 2023-24?
Once I got the job, my expectation or my goal was to win a championship. We know it wasn't going to be easy. We know it was going to be a lot of challenges as we saw in the past season. But every time, any moment, even as a player or even as a coach, my goal was always to win a championship.
So the Comets were one of the league's hottest teams early on, starting the season with a 7-1 record. Some young players like Leo Acosta and Mikey Lennis stood out. What were your impressions of how the team was playing at that first stretch of the season?
We were playing well, but at the same time, we knew there's things that we still needed to work on and adjust, and it still wasn't where I wanted to be. Yes, we did get the results, we did win the games, but still, there was still a lot of things that we needed to work on to get better. Of course, the regular season for us was to prepare for playoffs, right? So, we were talking about trying to adjust it and work on those little details. But at the end of the day, I think what prepared us most was the next stage of our season.
So let's talk about the next stage. So you knew going into the season, as you saw the schedule come out, that you would face a 6-game road trip, but no one anticipated an 8-game losing streak during the middle of the season. What did that experience teach the players and the coaching staff?
So we when we looked in the schedule with Bud in the beginning of the season, we knew it was going to be very challenging, but I knew that was the path for us to make one day the championship, right? There was a lot of diversity, challenges, travel, playing against the top teams, and we haven't done that for a while with the Comets. So I took it. My first initial reaction was, oh my gosh, we're in trouble, kind of. But then when I came back home, I just took it as a challenge. I took it as, okay, this is going to be our path to get to our goal, correct? So, at that moment, we knew it was going to be a challenge, those Spurs of 8 games, but I never knew it was going to be 0-8, to be honest with you. I was expecting to lose a game there and then and work on details. And that moment for us, I think, made who we were and what I want us to be. So it was very challenging. I learned a lot about myself as a coach and my coaching staff as well, and the players as well. So we took it we didn't take it as a negative thing. We took it as, what is the next step? How can we improve and get better and better by each game? Because again, our goal was still to make playoffs and of course, go to the championship. So, it was very challenging. I would say it was probably one of the most difficult, moments for me as a coach.
So during the darkest stretch of the season, a veteran player stepped up inside and outside the locker room to rally the team. Why did you make the decision to name Nacho Flores as captain in midseason?
So there was this didn't happen overnight. It was a process, right? So, I'm going to put Ramon into it because he had a part in that as well. Me and Ramon had a meeting, I think it was a couple weeks even before my decision. And I challenged Ramon to step up and to take a bigger role as a captain. And one of the comments in that conversation that we had was, he said, I want to focus on myself. And that comment stuck to me because, he was worrying about his game, and that's nothing against him, right? He was focusing on what he needed to do. And that kind of left not that he didn't want to step up and do more, he was more focused on himself. So after that conversation, that moment, that comment kept in my head. And then we went from, I think the road game that we lost in St. Louis, Nacho did something that really, really left a big mark on me. When I think it was the Tacoma game, if I'm correct. During that week, he reached out, I think, to Ken right here, and they made a video of our family and believing in us. And I'm actually getting emotional right now. Believing in us that we're champions, and don't put our heads down. And that video was huge. And at that moment when that happened, I knew I needed to make the change. And I talked to Ramon the next day because I believe it has to come from him as well, because he is the captain. So we had the next set of conversations than we had the weeks before, and he agreed, and we made a decision together, me and Ramon went in the locker room and thanked everybody, and was and presented the captaincy band to Nacho.
So shortly after that occurred in late February, the Comets traveled to Southern California for critical games against the Sockers and Strikers. How did winning those two games launch the team toward a near perfect end run?
It was the start. It was perfect. We needed to show that we can win on the road against a really good team. And we did that. Not just win. We I think we had one of our better games on the road at that moment against a really good team. And then again, we can say Empire, but Empire was a rebuilding year. They had really good team, really good players, and I think we kind of won that game in the last minutes as well, seconds. So I think that two games kind of set us on the tone of with the winning streak that we had.
So then you reached the playoffs. The Comets qualified as the Eastern Conference's third place team and faced second place UCFC in the first round. Now, go back to the regular season, UCFC had won 2 of 3 games against you. How did you prepare for that series, which ultimately became a 2-game sweep?
The thing again, we go back to the schedule that we had. We played against them, so the more we play against the top teams, the more prepared we are. So for us, the preparation was, we know that they're really good in transition. They're really good 1v1. So we wanted to make sure that we matched their transition or even do better. And then secondly, our defending 1v1 had to be on point. So it was more of, yes, we have a team structure of how we want to play and transition and everything else, but it came down to individual defending and team defending, in my opinion. So our preparation was just to kind of match their transition, but defensively do much better.
So we were in Utica, you win, and then you realize from a Monday game there that you have to go to Milwaukee for a Friday. Milwaukee had shocked previously undefeated Monterey in the other first-round matchup. So you go to game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and you came from behind to defeat the Wave at UWM Panther Arena, which is a difficult place for any team to win at. What was the team's mentality entering that game, and what statement did the Comets deliver that evening?
Again, Milwaukee shocked all of us by beating Monterey at home 2 times, right? In the second game and the third game. I think Milwaukee is. I played against them and I know them very well, and they're well coached as well. So for me, it was we just had to make sure that we didn't let the game go far away from us, right? We don't give them too big of a lead, keep it close. And I think at that moment, going up to there, we had to win that game, right? We had to win that game to set for the second game. So we ended up winning that game in the last, I think, 30 seconds. We scored 2 goals, and that was huge for us. So for me, it was a tough game tactically because I know Jules will stitch up things, and he has and those kind of players to do it as well. So it was. I just wanted to make sure that I was ready for anything that he threw us, right? And I think they did a really good job in the first game at home of beating our pressure, and we didn't adjust well enough. But I felt like in the second game we adjusted on that pressure side of it, and it was. I think. I'm not gonna say one is tougher than the other, but I think that first game set the tone for us for the second game.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back for more our interview with Comets head coach Stefan Stokic. We'll be right back.
Nobody does sports medicine like OSI does, which is why we are now the official sports medicine provider of the Kansas City Comets. We believe in a comprehensive, whole-person approach to medical care. We put in the work off the field so our players can succeed on the field.
Go Comets!
Welcome back. We're here at the world-famous Kansas City Soccer Dome. Erik Bergrud with head coach of the Kansas City Comets, Stefan Stokic. Before the break, we talked about the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 1 in Milwaukee. Big last-minute win for the Comets. Do we want to talk about Game 2? You come to Kansas City, Comets build an impressive 6-0 lead and then relinquish 7 straight goals and had to come from behind to win 8-7 in overtime. What lessons did the team and you draw from that game?
I think there's lessons in every game, right? I knew, so Jules done that against Harrisburg at home. He pulled out the 6th attack in the 4th quarter. Nothing was going. So we were actually prepared for it. I think everything went wrong. They came back and almost took the game away from us. But I think no matter how much you think you're prepared, sometimes things happen that you don't expect. And I think everything went wrong for us at that moment, and everything went their way, right? In that span of 15 minutes. I think we even started that half with a goal, the sixth goal, and then from there it just went kind of downhill. But I think what was good about that moment is because the season that we had, we went through so many diversities and so many ups and downs and moments like that. We were ready for that regardless. I think, again, we can talk about Jules. Jules is a great coach, and him doing that in a playoff game. I knew he was going to do it at one point, but I did not think he was going to do it right away, right? So that maybe caught me off guard. But I think it just shows the quality of the team and their coaching staff, and luckily we came up on top of that games.
And then you faced defending champion Chihuahua in the finals. The Comets led in both games, but ultimately lost both. Looking back at that series, what ultimately made the difference in the outcomes?
I personally think it comes down to experience, and they had some game changers in my opinion when it comes down to that. So what the difference was we were both really good defending team, as we showed, but I think it came down to little details and little things. Unfortunately, I'm gonna say this: it always comes down to one goal, one block, one shot, one save, one pass, one decision, right? And I think at that moment when it was really critical, they were the ones that made the right ones, and we did not. But you have to understand, they have had a lot of experience when it comes down to playoffs. And I realized up to the game of the first game, there was a lot of players that haven't played in a playoff, haven't played in the finals. And there's actually a few of them that said they never played for anything like this. So, I think most importantly, it came down to experience, and I think that's where they beat us.
Comets led the MASL in attendance once again in 2023-24. What can you say about the support of Comets season ticket holders and all of Comets Nation throughout that season?
I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, I think I've mentioned it a few times through my interviews. I've been a part of this organization since 2010. And we've had, good and bad seasons. There were seasons where we were, kind of sold out, but never like this. I've met people, friends of mine or friends of mine and kids that I coach, parents and this and that. They were telling us they were behind us watching the games. This year, it's not that it was only packed. There was a lot of people there, but you felt this presence of people were they want us to succeed. People texting me that I haven't talked to in many, many years, telling us that they're watching the game. I just met a person actually last week that I haven't seen for so many years that were watching, telling me details about the finals and this and that. So for me, this year has been unbelievable. I wanted, personally to thank them again. It makes a huge difference. If I feel it as a coach, just imagine how they feel it as players. And I think that was one of the reasons this year that we did have the success, number one. Secondly, that's one of the reasons that helped us get out of that 0-8 losing streak game, because knowing that no matter how bad it was going, they were still showing up, they were still coming out, they were still texting us, they were still, for me, this season has had it has been the greatest season when it came down to the fans and everybody that's been a part of this organization. And I feel like there's a lot of new people that came in as well. And for me, it's proud to be a coach and to see that developing as well.
So you mentioned some of the players' success. Two Comets, Zach Reagan and Berto Palmer, were named to the MASL's Elite Six team, and Berto earned the league's Defender of the Year award for the second time. How did Zach and Berto help the team on and off the field this season?
I mean, it shows. It shows on the field and off the field. We did set a goal for Zach that we did not achieve. We want a little bit more points on that side of it. But Zach, I've mentioned this again many times. Zach is not just on the field, off the field, incredible, works hard, professional, determined, wants to succeed, wants to go to the next level. And that's his mentality, and that's what he can achieve. Because I believe that talent comes to one point, but if you don't have that mentality, you can't go to the next level. and I think he's collectively a player that has all that, right? Now we have to, for next season, we have to get better when it comes down to other stuff and little details, but we've already talked about that. So, he's going to come in ready and to prove a point next season. Berto, I've played with Berto. I've watched Berto, and having him come back was a huge piece. And knowing that I needed, to have a chance to win a championship, I needed to bring him in and be part of the team. And again, he's proven that's why he's one of the better defenders in the league, winning this, the title second time. And as well, I think he could have done better in some moments, but I think in general is just his mentality as well, on the field, off the field. That's very important. And again, he's proven, once again, why he's one of the best defenders in the league.
So several Comets players, including Zach and Berto, will be competing in the TST tournament in June. What kind of opportunity does that provide for them?
I mean, it's great. It's unbelievable. I mean, I think, a lot of these guys don't play outdoors, in a different league and play. And I think it's fun playing the TST to win $1 million. I think that's another motivation. But I think it just gives a lot of these guys opportunity to perform and to represent the Comets and make us proud. So I think it's a great opportunity.
Feels in the MSL like the summer is long. You go through the season and then it stops, and then you get a break. How are you and the rest of the coaching staff preparing for over the summer for the coming season?
I mean, we're working like the same way I did, last year when I got the job. Looking at the players that are going to stay and that we're going to keep for next year. Looking for potentially new players if we need them, and then the next phase is preparing, what we could have done better, because you can always improve and get better from the year that you had before. So little things, training sessions, when we want to start, training camp, when do we, and all that stuff. So, I mean, I don't really take a break, to be honest with you. I actually, I'm gonna say this. So I promised my wife I was gonna take a break after the season. It lasted for 5 days, and then I got back into the office. So, it's not really a break. We're gonna prepare, and we set the expectations last season. So now the only thing is to win a championship. So it's gonna be tougher than this season. So we have to be ready for it.
So that relates to my final question. What will it take for the 2024-25 Comets to lift the Ron Newman Cup?
It's gonna take a lot of things, but for me, most importantly, is to feed off the last season. Let that be a motivational for them going into the next season. And it's gonna take a lot more hard work. So working on details, training, dedication, mentality. So I think all adding up to from last season is to continue with that momentum and to get better and better each day and each moment for us to have that opportunity again.
Well, Coach Stokic, thank you for your time today. Comets fans, thank you. I know it is the off season, but stay tuned. Follow us on social media. Look for up-to-date Comets content throughout the off season. We look forward to seeing you back at Cable Dome Arena this fall.